Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars turn on. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. The stars turn on.
Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 24 of The Press Box, in association with the unit. So Dundalk's relegation fears deepened on Friday following a 2-0 defeat at home to Galway Utd, which leaves Jon Daly's men hovering just 2 points above Drogheda at the foot of the table. This weekend, the Lilywhites travel to the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium to face a Derry City side with title ambitions. Can it be the point where things turn around, or is it a difficult night on the cards ahead of us on Friday? So Friday was a difficult night for us as Stephen Walsh scored 2 goals that essentially got John Caulfield's third win in the season over Dundalk. We were both at the game. I've read reports, listened to other podcasts and stuff, and I don't know what else has to be said, but I think, a lot of disappointments. Again, probably tactically we got it wrong or couldn't adapt to John Caulfield's tactics, which he got spot on. And sadly, I think, we were shown for potentially some of the players that we brought in more keeper-wise than anywhere else, that we just weren't at it. And I have to say, from speaking to a lot of people over the last few days as well, like, that relegation fear is getting more and more real. And not even necessarily in a potential 9th place, but there's still that opportunity for Drogheda to overtake us. And the way we're playing, the way kind of the side, in my opinion, kind of didn't have that quality, that class, that grit against a Galway side who are newly promoted side. It is worrying. There was not a lot to kind of go through. I think it was just poor on a lot of levels. Maybe bar Dervin. I thought Dervin did okay. Gave the ball away stupidly, I think, at times was the negative from. But in general, I think he worked hard. He was decent. But again, too many players kind of just so below par. And sadly, I think we'll probably reference him in more detail. But I think Goddard was a huge letdown. And again, that's their 4th keeper this season, I think. And you just think, my God, where else will this go? And I tweeted out during the game, actually, saying, like, this man, if he continues in goal, could get us relegated. And like, as I said, his confidence went, and essentially there was no coming back from it. And I just fear how far this goes, because as I said, away to Derry now on Friday night is a big task. So it's a big 10 games ahead.
Yeah, look, there's no point in really going massively into Friday, I think, as to say, but like, I mean, in terms of the ins and outs of the actual blow by blow stuff, but it just felt as flat as we've ever been. And you're questioning effort. It's one thing, I think, when you're a professional footballer, to not be good enough or be outclassed or whatever. There was, I don't know if the application was right from everyone the other night. The goals, I mean, Goddard, obviously, and I'm not defending him. It's hard to defend him. He'll take the brunt of it, because look, it should have been a simple save. No one's denying that for Stephen Walsh's opener, but it's just been, and this has been the case. Even go back to the Drogheda Cup game, it's a kind of litany of errors where, you go back to the goal we could see that the one he messed up on in the cup game as well. And I said it on the pod after that, if Sean Keogh, who had the chance to do it, puts that ball into touch, the centre halves go back up, they're not on the edge of the Dundalk box. If Scott McGill closes down Luke Heaney, maybe he doesn't get the chance to put the ball in. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that the keeper should save it, but similar to the other night where Jadakiki gives the ball away, very, very sloppily. Then you have your two centre halves basically tackling each other. You have your left back not picking up the man at the back post then, and obviously your keeper then doesn't bail you out. But it's a litany of mistakes where, and you again go to the second one where, I mean, Carlos Sullivan between McGill and Pike, I don't know if it's half-assed, if it's lazy, if it's whatever. But the
Take
time
him
and
down
space he
even,
has to put it in,
show that
yeah,
desire. That's the only
whatever.
thing.
Yeah, it lacked.
Pathetic it was.
It lacked, and then probably Mountney expect to be stronger maybe at the back post. Keeper again, is he out of position? Look, I think Goddard, the nerves went or something after the goal where he was just all at sea. He nearly coughed one up to Jimmy Keohane and very luckily got away with it. He just, like, the fans have lost confidence in him, but the defence have lost confidence in him, and maybe that's why Andy Boyle's basically charging at Mayoa for what should have been a simple header. And yeah, I look, you don't want to completely single someone out, and look, Jon Daly was asked about this afterwards by Jerry Malone, who very strongly suggested that Peter Cherry should be put in for the rest of the season, and suggested to him that there's a goalkeeping crisis. But the reality is Felix Goddard is a man learning on the job, and we can't afford that. Jon Daly himself had to make a very hard decision at the start of the year where, Petaluga came in from Liverpool, high profile, and was making mistakes for Pats, and he had to take him out. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually ironically, the Pats Dundalk game in Richmond where he made the change, put Danny Rogers in, he keeps a clean sheet, they win 1-0. And maybe something like that's required because it's not just the mistakes, it's the distribution, putting people under pressure, a lack of sort of confidence and faith in them from the defence. And I don't know what the answer is because look, Ross Monroe had his struggles. Sean Malloy is probably equally untested. Peter Cherry has the experience, but equally hasn't played a game in about 2 years. But I don't know if you can go with Goddard again, particularly heading to the Brandywell, where look, we're probably not expected to get a result anyway, but they will bombard you. They will get at you. They will put crosses into the box. They do have a striker, as we know, that, will challenge a keeper, put him under pressure. And he's a target at the moment. And listen, it's sad for him, and I hope he comes back from it or whatever. But at this moment in time, for me, the nerves went at a certain point in that second half that, it's awful on a personal level, but we as Dundalk fans can't be sentimental about it. We're in a real battle, dogfight, whatever you want to call it, to stay up. I was chatting to two people on Saturday, I won't name them, but one of them said, "Where's the next win coming from?" And the response from the other was, "Where's the next goal coming from?" Like, Galway are, after ourselves, they're the most goal shy team in the league, and they've beaten us 2-0 three times this season. They'd never won back-to-back matches in Oriel in their history. They've done that this season, and two soft enough goals, but we were probably fortunate that it probably wasn't like 4 or 5. Well, without them being exactly top class either, because it was a Hurley hit the post, Johan with an absolute sitter.
I've never seen anything like that miss, honest to God.
Yeah, possibly should have been a penalty. There was the one Goddard coughed up, and he was lucky to get away with. So it could have been like if it was going to go anyway, like it wasn't going to be 2-1. It was going to be 3-0 quicker than 2-1. Like we had only, we did a lot of efforts on the night, but only one on target. Aid Irvin from about 35 yards out, which look, I have no issue with, but um, it was easy for Brendan Clark, an easy clean, like 13 clean sheet of the season for him, and it was probably one of his easiest, I'd imagine. And you go through it, and look, obviously the goalkeeper's in focus, the defence is in focus, but we've a real issue in that we've only scored 8 goals at home. We've only scored in 4 matches at home. We've blanked in 9 matches at home. The defeat the other night was our 4th defeat at home this season, which, look, isn't a lot given our league position, but it's one more than we had last year. It's, we've now had as many home defeats this season as we had in the whole of the previous 2 seasons. And there's still 5 home matches to go. And
but with Gullen there, like Gullen, to give him his due, I think he was shafted by Jon Daly tactically. I think with the lads going long ball, route 1, and did it very well, to give Galway some credit, actually. John Caulfield, which is he's known for, but they did it well. They pressed well. They worked off scraps, but that's where they got their goals. But like, you can't expect. We were on the back foot the whole time, and we had one outlay in Jamie Gullen, and he was running hard all night. But like, Zlatan Ibrahimovic isn't doing anything up there on top of his own. I think Daly let the game play on too long. I think it was at 60 minutes before he made a sub. And I just even think tactically, and it's to keep that one man up top, and still we tried to just keep going up to him instead of even breaking it out to the wings, is where we could have created chances and got more up through the middle. But we just kept trying to hit long, hit corners, and it was the wrong thing to do. I don't think Jamie Gullen is the most prolific striker ever, but I think we didn't even give him a chance at home to Galway, so I think that was on Daly, and I think his subs were late, and I thought his tactics needed to change a lot earlier. Like, the result, as you said, how it finished is how it was really playing out from 20 minutes in. So I think he kind of just let it play on, and nothing was happening, and I think he needed to make changes tactically a lot quicker than he did.
Yeah, look, I think look, hindsight's a great thing, and we've the benefit of that. But there was an argument definitely to, sometimes, what Gaul was going to bring, and sometimes it's a case of, do you fight fire with fire and go at them? Like, we're trying to play the ball out of our defence, and I don't think we've what's the famous line? I don't think you have the facilities, big man, or something like that. Possession stats look good when you have it, but you're knocking it around the defence. You don't.
But we do have the
ability to
facilities. Joking aside, we need to get out of that statement. But we do actually have the facilities to play around Galway. I thought Conor McCormick was absolutely outstanding on the night in the 6th row.
You take him out of the game if you go more direct. Like, there was definitely an argument there the other night to go Gullen and
Kenny,
either Kenny or O'Connor, and ironically, when O'Connor and Kenny came on, they were lively. Like, like Kenny, look, he probably should have done better with a header, but like, we got at them. Like, know your limitations. Like, we're trying to, sort of be a better side than we are at the moment, I think, in many respects, and like, it's not a fit for every game, don't get me wrong, but we've discussed it before, every evidence would suggest that Jamie Gullen performs better when he's someone up top with him. Like, I think, but players need to do more too. Like, there's too many that go missing for long periods of the game, and they're not involved, and therefore you're a passenger. If you're not getting
Our
it.
width was terrible. None of our wingers played well. Our left back was way off
Well,
it.
who would you
He
say, right? Just right. So we're 26 games in now. Who would you say is our most assists this season? It's probably an easy one.
like, is it a random? Like, I don't know.
No, it's probably an easy one. It's pretty obvious when you think about it.
Benson.
No, Daryl Horgan with 4,
Oh,
right?
fucking hell. Yeah.
Who's our second most assists? With 2.
Boyle.
Cammy Elliott.
Can't be back.
And no one else, everyone else that has an assist has only 1, right? So, you might bemoan Cammy's lack of goals. He hasn't played an awful lot of minutes, but he's done more than most in terms of like actually creating goals. So I think one of them, to be fair, was he was fouled for a free kick, which Cullen stuck away or whatever. But my point being, like, yeah, we're struggling for goals, but are we struggling for good chances as well? And like from that basis, you know, most of the season we played one up top. Most of the season we have been scoring goals. So you have to try something differently. Like, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing time and time again, expecting a different result. And I don't know what that is. Like, we suggested mad things early in the season, like put Mayo up front or something. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that now, but like, we're going to Derry, who've one of the best defences in the league, one of the best keepers in the league, incredible home record. Where's the goal coming from? Like, and that's, maybe the big pitch up there and maybe the fact that the onus will be on them to come at us opens up gaps. And look, maybe we've seen cameos from the likes of Robbie Mahan in recent weeks where his pace does cause problems on the break, and maybe it's time for something like that. But like, we need someone to put the ball in the net, and Gullen up top on his own doesn't look like he's going to provide that.
No. You
there's
can
not
play
enough
somebody up top on their own, but the system has to suit. The players need to be on top, and they need to be creating it with and through the centre. And we're just not doing that. Like, nobody's actually up supporting them when the ball gets up either. And
John Caulfield is like, and I'm just referencing because he was obviously in Oriel on Friday, but he's the ideal manager who, plays to the skill set of his players. His Cork team, and look, not take nothing away from their achievements, they weren't free flowing or joy to watch, but what they were was very hard to break down, very hard to score against, and he could play balls into channels for the likes of Dooley, for the likes of Maguire, for the likes of Carl Shepherd, who had the pace and quality to cause any team problems. They maybe don't have that same sort of skill set in terms of players right now, attacking wise, but he's got the basics right of making them very hard to score against, very hard to break down. He has some of his old, Cork players involved there now. If you look, you mentioned McCormack, and I agree with you, he was phenomenal the other night as always. Gary Buckley was brilliant at the back, came from that team. Even Jimmy Keohane was on that sort of good Cork team as well. So he's put a spine there together that knows what he wants. And then he'd happily, play the percentages then in terms of the attacking stuff to, okay, they don't score a lot, but they don't lose a lot either. Now, that said, they came into the game, we would have referenced it last week, they'd lost their last 4 on the road. They were probably a bit vulnerable, or as vulnerable as they've ever been. And we didn't lay a glove on them. We just didn't lay a glove on them. It was probably maybe not as bad as the Sligo game earlier in the year, but it was so disheartening. It was a bigger defeat than 2-0 for me, and the fact we barely raised a gallop in it was because, if we're gonna get out of this mess, or gonna secure ninth, and it probably is ninth at this stage.
Secure ninth.
At
What a
best.
sad statement that is.
Well, it's looking that way, but you're going to rely on your home form, because it has been the one saving grace for, like, we came second or joint second third, whatever you want to put it, and goal difference in Stephen O'Donnell's first year. But even that year, the away form was cat, let's be honest. But we were just very good at Oriel.
Yeah.
And even this year, it went through what, eight matches in a row we didn't concede or something. And it's amazing. Andy Boyle came back in the year, and I was actually chatting to Andy after the game and made the point. I think the last game he played, he'd back the rest of the back four, because I'm presuming it would have been Davies, Johnson, Bradshaw, and whoever was in goals. I'm presuming Monroe, because Shelby was still on his ban. So complete different back four. He only missed 5 matches, and it's nearly an entire new team around him. And that's not ideal. And look, some of these lads are still getting up to speed because they're kind of in a pre-season mode. But we don't have time to get up to speed. We need results now. We need to seriously learn from the mistakes of the other night, because I thought we got it wrong on every level. Certain players, like, look, Dan Pikes had probably, as I said last week, I wasn't at the Bows game, but he got kind of in trouble for their goal, in trouble for the second goal the other night. And I've sympathy for him, because I think he's a right footer playing at left back, and I think you need that left footer in your team to give a better balance. You've seen it even, look, it's a completely different level. Kieran Trippier played a lot of the Euros for England, and one of the best right backs in the Premier League. I think anyone who plays fancy football would want him in their team, because he defends well, but he also gets you a lot of points going forward, etc. But he was half the player playing at left back as he would being at right back, and any player will suffer from that. So I don't know what the solution is. Sean Keogh gives you maybe a better balance, although he's young and inexperienced. Do you put Robbie Benson in there just to give you a left foot balance? I don't know, but it hasn't worked. And it's probably not doing Pike much of a service either. But look, we're in a bit of bother, let's be fair. I know we have been there for a while, but like, I think it was
a real turning point for fans and people as well. I agree with you. I think,
yeah.
I've been
And we don't want to
this.
we don't want to be negative all the time, but it's very hard to look at that game the other night and think positively.
Yeah.
Listen,
I don't buy any of that shit. I don't care if anybody wants to call me negative. I see what I see. I see the position we're in. I see the potential problems that we have, the continual mistakes that we keep making, the continual lack of desire, the continual lack of genuine tactics of how to win a game. This is where we are. As I said, 8 is gone. Like, you really need something really good to start coming. So, ultimately, we are now playing for a playoff place. And that's, do you know what? It's boring, mundane, it's unentertaining. But this is where we are for the next kind of 2.5 months or whatever it is. So, and we just need to get on with it. We need to try better, and then essentially, hopefully, hand on heart, I don't think we will come 10th. I know, I think Gary Deegan's now back as well for Drogheda, which is actually a good addition to have coming back. But hand on heart, I still think we will come 9th. I don't think Drogheda, for all their huffing and puffing, and they've done well the last few games. I do just think
they'll pick up points though. Like, you back, they're gritty to
but so will we. We will pick up points. I don't think we have to pick up a lot to stay above them.
But it's very hard to see based on the performance the other night. Okay, I missed the Bows game, but the performance in Drogheda in the Cup, and even that Bows game, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because, again, I wasn't there, but everything would suggest that we were probably very lucky to get a point. I know we probably maybe could have snuck it in the end, but they had a few penalty appeals. They have their own problems going on. I think Bows have 1 win in 13 or whatever in the league. But, as I said last week, it only kind of gets harder from here. You're going to I don't think there's an outstanding team in the league. I watched the Shells Derry game the other night. Not a lot of quality in it, but what them teams have at the top is an ability to sort of grind out results and get.
And even Pats, I watched them the other day, and some dodgy penalty decisions. But joking aside, but Keane scored, comes in, boom, goal.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh God, and that is the difference. Goals, creating chances, and so I agree with you. Listen, I still think we'll come ninth, and that could also be winning 3 or 4 points between now and the rest of the season, because I still don't
Listen,
think Drogheda get a
I,
lot
ho-
of.
I hope you're right, but again, Drogheda are showing us a spirit that maybe we're not at the moment, and for that reason, it's back to, I think our goal difference was slightly better than theirs, but it's now like by the next podcast we could be bottom of the table, and it's in that sort of, we had a bit of breathing room, we've lost it, and you're now in that sort of limbo every Friday of, well, it's slightly different this week. They play Sunday because they're playing Rovers, but um, you're in that limbo where every week their result and our result, depending on how it goes, you could be, now it could go the other way too, but it,
I
yeah,
don't know. I
again,
look at here's their
it needs
fixtures,
it
right?
needs a
So
serious turnaround.
they've Rovers, as you said, away. Like, let's be honest, I can't see them getting much out of that. Fair enough. They're in the cup next. Then their next game is at home to Sligo. Sligo are a team in form. Sligo could do them as, and then like Pats away, home to Galway. You seen how Galway dealt with us, and then away to Bows. Like, that's the next 5 games. Like tough games. So like, and this is pathetic that we have to go through this sort of stuff. But like, I'm not seeing them get a lot of points, and that's what I'm saying. I think we'll come ninth, nearly more by just default. I think we're just very lucky that there's a team slightly worse than what we are. Um, and another absolute off point, like in the negative, like I do actually think to myself, right, all going well, draw to go down, we come ninth, we win the playoff against whoever that is. You look at what Cork and the boys are now coming up with Keating and Maguire up top and stuff like that. Flying, we'll have more money. Maybe they'll invest in different ways. I'm already thinking, God, Jesus, if these boys do come up like next season, we'll be in the absolute dreads already. Like, and you're thinking, oh my God.
Well, look, that's next season's problem in terms of, like, you don't know who will bring in
Let's
or
get there
who other teams will
first.
bring in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to be in the division to worry about that for next year. But look, I disagree with you slightly on Drogheda in that, like, so Drogheda went to Tala last year and won. Like,
Yeah.
they are that sort of plucky team that, listen, they could go to Tala on Sunday and lose 5-0. That's very possible too. But they also have a habit of picking up results when you don't expect it. Like, as I say, I think I mentioned last week, Shells haven't beaten them this season. Who backed them to turn over Waterford the other week?
Mm.
Um, and like, yeah, they lose matches. There's no doubt about that. But Weavers Park's a bit of a, it suits them in many ways too. And like, Oriel should suit us, and it has suited us for a long time, and has been a strength. Okay, as I say, 9 blanks in 13 matches where we haven't scored in home games isn't good enough. But like, at the same time, when you see that the other night, that was a worry, because the fact it was at home, even the
Mm.
crowd was flat. Like, you know, don't even the shed got going. Like, even I'm talking pre-game. Um, yeah, they waved the flags, but definitely wasn't as much noise as we'd have. And I was just looking earlier. I think John O'Connor from Bowes had he tracks the attendances and that, and ourselves and Derry, ironically, are the only two that have seen their average attendance drop year on year. Derry's is due to the fact that their capacity is actually limited because they're putting in terracing. Um, Whereas, like, we're just shy of 250 down on average from last year. And that's worrying. and it's not going to get better based on the other night, to be fair. And you rightly give credit last week for, the club put on the bit of a family day or whatever, the bit of, the Nugalato cart and 20% off tickets and stuff like that. But I mean, if you're a floating fan going up there the other night, that not even just a perform, like there's
But
an
to be honest,
element
that's
of
where I think the club. I firstly agree with you, and even being there, I thought even the likes of the young lads from Redeemer on the pitch at halftime, and I thought it was deadly. And I think that's you get back to the community
yeah,
element with that kind of stuff, the face painting and all. I think that was really really good, and something that they can work on. But it's funny from talking to other people within the club, like how I see it is you have to make Oriel Park an event that even if we're shit, it doesn't matter. You know that so
yeah.
again,
Well, but like Bose is the example of that. I think after as I say, they've the worst home form of anyone in the division this season,
yeah,
and it's sold out every week.
yeah,
So they've made it sort of cool, but
yeah, and
and
that's what we need.
again,
Like Bows
it's
are,
not a
as you said, in a worse reign of form than us, but they're still selling it out. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here, but I think again, I talk premium stuff, hospitality stuff, and it can be done. I'm not accepting anybody saying, "Oh, we don't have the facilities. We don't like." There is. You see, even the Bows, I know they're giving it away to people that represent the club well or something like that, but they built a little mini hospitality area. Waterford have this hospitality, not hospitality, a fan zone, stuff like that for beers. Like I don't understand why we're not kind of doing more and more of this stuff. I think we have actually done very well with our sponsorships and different bits and bobs. I have to say things in that area this season has picked up, but I think we definitely need to make Oriel Park as an event better. And that actually has to have nothing to do with football, is what I'm saying. So you're saying that we're down 250. We need to make sure that more than 250 want to come here, but it's like going to the races. We went to Live Golf a few weeks ago. It was just great crack. Again, some of the lads that we went with didn't like golf, didn't know anything about golf, but afterwards chatting to them, they were like, "That was savage," and I'd come back. That's what we need to make Oriel Park. That it's not only about the football, and that brings in attendance, that brings in finance, that brings everything that keeps the ship going, and then the football can follow as well. But I think we definitely need to look into in the future the whole event of Oriel Park on match night.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. I just and I don't disagree with anything you said there. Whether anything that can happen mid-season, this point in,
Yeah, no,
um,
it's nothing to do now. To be fair,
but we
it's too
need to
late
be,
now.
as a club, and we're going down rabbit holes here, but like as a club, and I mentioned it before, we've a huge gap now between so after our next home game is Pats, followed by Shells the 30th of August, and then we've one home game in 7 weeks. So we had something similar, I think, last year, the year before, and the club did absolutely nothing, sat in its hands. I hope that's not the case this year, because there needs to be something there to bridge that. Because look, finances are important too, but that's a separate thing than the game. I suppose we probably discussed that enough. But I know there was a few comments in it as always, so maybe probably best to move on to them.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better. Jared Foley says relegation is now quite likely as this squad of players are not good enough for the league. It's hard to imagine where the next win is going to come from. The future for the club looks bleak on and off the pitch. Missing the deadline for the grant application was inexcusable. And Simon Canning said brutal. The keeper was very shaky, not good enough for where we're at now. Very poor up front, but that's been a problem all season. Relegation more likely now, unfortunately, unless the owner does something. Right. So speaking about our next game, we are going to discuss the Derry City game now on Friday. But first, let's hear from our sponsors, the Unit.
Today's episode is powered by the Unit, experts in building innovative products for the betting, iGaming, and sports industries. They're the brains behind building innovative products tailored for those who love the game as much as we do. From software that powers up the betting world to platforms that enhance how we engage with our favourite sports, the Unit is leading the charge. The Unit, a winning team that reminds me of the Kenny era Dundalk in their consistency and results. Proud sponsors of the Press Box podcast. Learn more at theunit.dev.
Right, so we will try get back to winning ways away to Derry now on Friday night, but that's not going to be easy against a side who has the best home record in the division, with Rory Higgins' side acquiring 29 points at the Brandywell from 13 matches so far this season. 4 more than top of the table Shelbourne have at Tulka. By contrast, Dundalk have won just once on the road this season. Like, I don't even want to ask, like, can we upset this? Like, again, I think straight away a great result here for us is a draw. We take it, we move on, because I think this is just where we're at now. The days of, as I said in the podcast 1 or 2 episodes before, I think we referenced it was Galway, Derry, Pats and Shells. I said we need 6 or 7 of these to get going, and I'm with the Galway defeat, looking Derry straight in the face, I'm thinking there's a huge potential we could get 0 points. So I'd take a point and getting kind of off the board in this one. I'm still very conscious of this month. I think this is a huge month, and as I said, to go up to Oriel Park to the Brandywell and get something with Drogheda playing away at Rovers could just kind of keep us ticking over and just getting us that tiny bit further away from Drogheda.
Yeah, look, it's for a long time we had a really good record in the Brandywell. Like, it was nearly, go up there, you were nearly guaranteed to win. We actually haven't beaten Derry in the last 6 attempts, home or away. 3 draws, 3 losses. It's I agree with you. Maybe a point there would be a good one. Obviously, look, you take a game on its merits, but going away to a team going for the league with the best, as you referenced there, the best home record in the division, a point wouldn't be bad. Look, our away record just absolutely stinks, to be honest with you. And it's very hard to be hopeful going up there. Now, that said, they're on a bit of a shaky run as well. Like, they've taken just 1 point from their last 6. They lost away to Sligo at the start of July, and then drew obviously with Shelbourne on Monday, albeit down to 10 men. For a lot of that game, it's probably a good point in many ways. That came either side of their Bruno's Magpies experience, which wasn't great. So they have played there obviously in Europe, which technically they won on the night, and obviously turned over Pats in the cup, but it's the first league game there since beating Drogheda 5-1 on the 28th of June, so quite a long time ago. Their home record is very good. I think Galway and Rovers, Shamrock Rovers, are the only 2 sides to win at the Brandywell this season, and since they lost to Shamrock Rovers on the 19th of April, they've played 15 matches, won 8, drawn 5, lost just twice, but at home they've won 5 and drawn 2 of their 7 games in the Brandywell. So they're a formidable opponent there, and probably one of the worst teams we could look to be facing. Last time we went up there, we were beaten 4-1. It was the end of the road for Stephen O'Donnell, and it was pretty bleak that night. And you really don't need that again, because we don't play then with the cup the following week. So, you don't want to dwell on that, but maybe win or lose, draw, whatever, come Friday, maybe that sort of week off is a chance to reset. I don't know if Jon Daly's plans are to get a friendly in or whatever, but keep things ticking over, work on certain things ahead of a Pats game that, could be huge, because look, they are a team we've beaten this season. They're a team he knows inside and out. And their away record isn't particularly good either. But yeah, it's pains me to say it, but it's very hard to be positive going to the Brandywell about getting anything. But I hope I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, as I said, we won't dwell on it, but I think I'd sign up for a point already and hopefully kind of slightly pull away. Before we do go as well, we know the club actually launched a new Voices of Oriel podcast, and Mick Fairclough was actually featured in episode 1. So there should be a few more coming out, and having listened to it, I think it's interesting hearing the stories and stuff. So that's a good kind of thing, I suppose, for fans to listen to into as well. Limited spaces are also available for the club's 2 remaining summer camps, which are going to take place on August 12th to 15th and the 19th to 22nd. The camps run from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. each day and are open to boys and girls aged 6 to 13. Further details are on Dundalk FC. We are going to bring the underage roundup in association with Jerry McNamee, but I know you did want to just some condolences for people that passed with relation to the club and stuff, very sadly.
Yeah, so just obviously Friday, there was probably 2 well-known businessmen and 2 people, with good associations with the club. Peter Quinn, who obviously ran the Imperial back in the days, brother Oliver was a former chairman, passed away, and Paddy Williams, I think Paddy was 89, from Ardesman, again, very well known in Oriel Park. And I think just this evening, I've seen it there, Brendan Mackin passed away. His son Damien is the treasurer of the 1903. So, sympathies to all their family and friends. Obviously very sad to lose anyone, and, people have, good associations over the years. So, may they rest in peace. But just to conclude with the underage stuff, I suppose it was a quiet one last weekend with the bank holiday. So the men's under-15s were the only side in action on Monday, and they won 3-0 away to Longford Town to make it 4 wins from 4 in their section of the league. This Saturday, the men's under-20s are also in Derry when they face the Candy Stripes at 2 p.m, while the men's under-15s are at home to Athlone Town at 1:30 p.m. A lot of travelling this weekend. On Sunday, the women's under-19s and the men's under-17s are both away to Sligo Rovers at 4 p.m. and 1 p.m. respectively, while the under-14s face the long trip to play Cork City at 2 p.m. in the Eddie Wallace Cup. The men's under-15s are also in league action next Tuesday at home to Drogheda United at 7:15.
Right, well, that's it for this week on the Press Box. Again, we want to thank our main sponsors, the unit, as well as our sponsors, Player Fit, Jerry McNamee Consultants, and Malone Financial Services. Again, if you listen to this on YouTube, we appreciate any comments that you want to put on it. If you could subscribe and like the video as well, it kind of helps with the growth on that section. So we'll leave you there, but again, a disappointing display against Galway, but we can only hope that things get better in Derry. Talk to you next week.
Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars